I'm going to hand over to Nikki, who's going to do a workshop demo, whatever, on mark making. Hello, Nikki.
Hello, right, where are we? So, welcome. This little hour or so, I'm going to introduce you, as I said, to the face-to-face courses, online courses, and then my Mark Make for Textiles course. And then I will do a very, very quick demo. If you want to join in with the demo, you are very welcome to join in with it. As you know, I do talk extremely fast, and just to get everything done in the hour. If you want to put some things in the chat, I'm sure Dawn will answer you. If not, I'm Nikki at Textile Skills Centre, Textile Skills Centre, 1S in the middle.com. Right, so just these ones really quickly that you should be logged on to our Facebook groups. So we've got the A-level and we've got the Textile Teachers Centred groups, and then the Textile Skills Centre, which is a one for everybody. So definitely get onto those. I think the main thing that you should be doing is going onto the website, and it'll come up to put your name in. That's the most important one, because Dawn sends out e-shots to you with everything on. She doesn't send out hundreds. You're not going to get them every day. You're going to get like one a week, if that. So that's the main thing. So we've got Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. YouTube is where all of these videos are stored, which most of you know, which is why 125 sign up, but actually only like 50 actually come. So they're all on there, plus lots of careers ones. Pinterest, I think, is very good. That's really good for your students. As you can see there are lots of good boards specifically related to what you're teaching. And I'd love it if you came onto Instagram. Please do go onto Instagram, because that's where you get all the giveaways. And although we've just done one with Dryad, which is an amazing screen print one, we've had two recently, which are overlockers, and we don't have hundreds of people sign up for them. So you have a real good chance of winning prizes on there on Instagram. So courses, there are two courses that are sort of spec related: planning, assessment, and progression. My one is the art and design, and then Rachel does one which is the D&T. They're both online and they're both live as well. My one is live in September. We do them early September because that's when the money draws in, and for people that might need to relook at the course, or if they're thinking about a course or they're thinking about doing textiles. It's not necessarily for new people, but it does gear towards that, and it covers all four specs, and it's a long, it's a day. From the live one is from 9 until like 2 o'clock, and basically you're writing your own scheme of work, so it goes through the whole specification. But it's online, it's cheaper online, so if you want to do it online, you can do it at your own leisure.
The D&T
Um,
on October the 4th, by the way.
Lovely, thank you. Face-to-face courses are 20% discount for ECTs. There's no discounts at the moment on the online ones, but the face-to-face courses, there is quite a really decent discount for ECTs there. Right, these are the face-to-face courses coming up. There's going to be definitely more, and Dawn will tell you there's a couple that I've missed off there. But the one that we've got before the end of term is at the Home of Data in Banbury on July the 3rd, which is fabric manipulation skills. And I do about 20 to 25 different manipulation skills, literally from 3D manipulation of fabric through American smocking, right the way through to the whole like tux pleats. You don't do them all. There's some of them I give you, some of them you do. It's a heavy day, but it's a very good day if you want to reskill or upskill on your fabric manipulation skills. And then all our other ones are coming on now online for the autumn. So the courses that we do are surfaces, heat press, creative garment making, fabric manipulation skills, and then Dawn, we have some pattern cutting courses as well that go alongside these. Yeah, you're on mute.
And we've also got an eco printing one that's going to happen in Newbury, I think, in November. And yeah, I've got essential manufacturing that's going to happen at the Design and Technology Association Centre in Banbury. There's going to be one up north as well, another one up north. I think somebody's just asking a question about something.
We're trying to get some more in Manchester and Leeds at the moment. We are trying to get some more there.
Somebody's asking, please do face-to-face courses in Manchester. We
Yeah,
try
we are trying,
in
but we
schools.
haven't got the schools. So if you want to host, please contact Dawn at Textile Skills Centre, because she is always looking for hosts. Okay, so definitely need more hosts in those areas. I think it's because we've done a lot up there, and when somebody has hosted and done all the courses, they don't necessarily want to host again. Right, then I'm going to just very quickly take you through some of the online courses that I do. Some are short, some are medium, and some are long. So creating artworks with Wonderweb is a short course. Lots of different, I mean, it's not just about doing applique, it's doing lots of different things with Wonderweb, and it's not just about doing things flat either. Then we've got the American smocking, which is a very popular one. We're also, well, I'm also at the Stitch Festival doing that. So if you're coming, not the Stitch Festival, Knitting and Stitching Show, sorry. If you're coming to London to the Knitting and Stitching Show, I think the one Harrogate hasn't come out yet, but if you want to bring your students along, because quite often you bring your students along on a Saturday, and last time I did it, I had like 5 or 6 students from a class come along. So if you want to bring students, it's quite a good thing to do, to bring them to the Knit and Stitch Show and book the book there. But that one is also online. Then we've got machine embroidery. If you're initially starting this, you haven't done machine embroidery before, this is for a starter course. It really does take you through from changing the foot, how to get the foot on, to health and safety, all the way through using your hoop properly, the whole works. Then we've got dissolvable fabric, one of my favorites. That's not just using things flat, that's doing dissolvable fabric and making them into 3D shapes as well. So it's all about how you can make dissolvable fabric into 3D, and that's a short one. Probably, Dawn, I'd say the most popular one is creating repeat patterns for print. And then a lot of teachers, I've been told, just show this one directly to the class, which I'm fine with. Yeah, this does repeat patterning and fashion illustration, all done with PowerPoint. So it takes you through everything: fashion illustration, putting it into shapes, layering, CAD, repeating. It's a really popular one, and it's short. And yes, you can just show it to the class. They pick it up pretty quickly. Surface Textiles is a longer course because there's a lot more on there. We've got mono, jelly, dissolved fabric, heat gun, screen printing, marbling, PVA, lots of things to do with surfaces on there. So that is like a medium to long course. All of these courses have video tutorials for everyone, step-by-step guides, health and safety, you name it, it's on there. Student exemplars, artists, everything that you need related to doing that. Then you've got the creative pattern garment making. That is quite a long course, but there's 18 downloadable presentations on there, and it goes through how to make your blocks, how to make your toiles. There's 7 patterns that make 18 different garments, and it's how to adapt them. And then there's fashion illustration. There's lots of lessons, and those are the patterns there that you see. So it's quite an intensive course. That is an online and a face-to-face, but the advantage to the online is one that you don't want to make everything in one go. You want to make one block and one toile on to start with. You've always got the course. The courses last forever. Okay, so you're not time limited on these. This is why people do like one and then they go on to another. Fabric manipulation skills, it's online. At the moment, we're getting these all over into a different place, but there are a whole series of 5. So these are all short ones, 5 different series taking you through all the different fabric manipulation skills. I think that one, a lot of people do prefer to come to the course because you'll do all of them on the day course. Nearly 90% of all of them, I'd say, on the day course. So that's why people and then you take a sample home with you. So a lot of people prefer that. So don't forget, that one is at Banbury if you want to come to that. So the one that I'm looking at mostly today is mark making for textiles. It's a medium course. It's not massively long, but it is medium. So it does work you through all the different themes. So I did it via theme. So you've got the structure theme, an object theme, aquatic theme, a floral theme, and a decay theme. And what I do is I take you through mark making for each of those themes. Plus, there's a big introduction, which is part of the planning, assessment, and progression course. So it talks about mark making drawing within the GCSE. So there's a whole section on that too. So there's videos, guides, artists, primary sources, student exemplars, all sorts of resources, and health and safety through the whole of those courses. The top one there is just a mishmash of different ones, but the bottom one there you can see decay. So within, I'll show you some of the close up, so you can see lots and lots of different ways of doing it. I don't know if mark making, from what I've seen, it's part of the surfaces course too that we do, which is online. We do a tiny little bit of mark making on the surfaces course, but a lot of people do seem to find this. It's not hard, but it's what to get around. What's the difference between mark making and drawing? What's the difference between mark making and doing it on fabric and having it as an outcome? So it's all there. So we will have a discount on doing this course, and we're going to give you a third off, which is quite a lot. And that is the code there, mark making offer. So capital M, capitals for the offer. And we're starting that today, and it's going to last until the 17th of July. If Dawn could write that on the chat for me. So you don't have to do it by July. We're thinking that you could buy it or log into it by July the 17th, and you can have the whole summer to actually do it if you want to have some fun at home. It is fun. So if you want to join in on the workshop, I'm going to do a little tiny weeny workshop, and I will go back to talk to you a little bit at the end if we have time on a bit more. Oh, I do talk fast. It's only 1:15. We will go back at the end and I'll show you a little bit more about the mark making course. But mark making for florals, I have found I do a lot of mentorship. And I go into a lot of schools, as you know. And I think, as I always say to a lot of teachers, florals is one of the obvious choices.
I'll watch the story of unfortunate events again.
Yeah, we've got somebody not on mute. Vic. You put yourself on mute, Vic, please, Campbell. So florals, where was I? Florals is a really, really lovely, thank you. Florals is a really lovely theme, and it's one that we feel we want to do. It's enjoyable, it's lovely. What could be easier? But actually, it's one of the hardest things to draw. It is not an easy thing for 14-year-olds to draw florals. And you'll see on the course, and I know I talked to a lot of you, and I've said this before, you know, I did art A-level, art GCSE and art A-level. In those days, you had to draw for a whole day. Then I went off and did a foundation course for a year, where mostly what I did was draw because I wanted to go on to do print as a degree. Then I went on to do a 3-year degree course where for 2 days a week for 3 years, all I did was draw. Then I went and I was a designer, textile designer for 25 years. So for 10 of those, I literally drew designs. When I was pregnant, I was home doing, I did New Look summer range, and all I was doing was drawing. So I can draw. And then you go to school and you have this lovely theme of florals, and you say, oh, draw some florals, and you expect your 14-year-olds to be able to draw florals, and that isn't realistic. Yeah, it's just not realistic. They might have done art for a few years. Art doesn't necessarily like florals that much, so they're not used to drawing, and there definitely is a stigma around using a pencil. So it can be overwhelming, and for you, they're putting all these things into their sketchbook, and you want it to look great, you want it to look nice, and then suddenly you've got a drawing that they're not happy with, or you're not happy with, because it's not up to a level that everybody thinks it should be, and that's wrong. It shouldn't be at a level. So I'm going to talk to you about a little bit about drawing florals, and I've said to bring some paper, a dried flower. And the reason I've said to bring dried flowers is because I used to have a windowsill of, I'm just snapping some things here, of some dried leaves and dried flowers. If you no matter what flowers you take, if you've got some exotic ones, that's great. But most flowers actually can be quite boring to draw. Okay. If you dry them out, like this is a monstera leaf, if you can see that, or cheese plant. If you dry them out, they curl around and they do all sorts of lovely things. And they are much, 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 I find easier, but also better to draw, easier to draw. They're not flat. They have much more shape, much more rhythm to them. I'm going to show you some other ones. We're going to look at some of these dried flowers here. I'll get onto it, where I do dry lots of these and have lots and lots of different flowers. And I do this exercise with year 7 right the way through to year 12. So I would suggest, if you're going to do florals, that to make life easier for yourself, you dry some of the flowers and the leaves. If you're going to dry some leaves, they don't dry well. You're going to have to test out which ones dry and which ones don't. And with some flowers too, they don't, some dry, some don't. Some it's good to put to press. And don't worry when you put them into press, don't make sure they're flat, just literally shut the book on them so that they press badly, if that's what you've got to think. So what I'm going to talk to you about also is using artists to inspire mark making. So when we think of artists normally, we just think of artists that inspire textile techniques or color or whatever else it is that we're using. We're not necessarily thinking of them to inspire mark making or drawing. So on the course, I have a range of artists, I call them expressive floral artists that inspire mark making. And what they are is they're a series of very, as you can see on the one on the left there, really expressive floral drawings. Okay. You can also have some in there. They're a little bit more realistic. I mean, you can do what you like, but when you're thinking about some of these, the one on the left there, splishy splashy, technical terms. The next one is looks like it's been scraped through, and then maybe some monoprinting over the top or something like that with those I can't remember what they're called now. It's not gypsophilia, I can't remember what they're called. And then the middle one there, it looks like it might have been done with an ink pen, and then somebody's literally sprayed a load of paint over the top. So think about giving your students some expressive artists that they don't feel frightened that they can't achieve those. And believe me, they look great in their sketchbooks, and they are mark making. And if I show you some that my students have done, these are 3 that have been done by my students. For 6th formers, should have got you some year 7, so I should have shown you some year 7. You'd be amazed what year 7 can come up with. I use an easel for 6th formers, and they do it on an easel. I think inks are great. I think using nibs with ink is great. I think spraying and splashing dyes are great. Think of all the things that they can do and all the equipment. I'll show you some in a minute. I'll show you some physical ones I've done here. Think about how they can use the one on the left there. The student has done, but they've also used a fine liner afterwards to go round and fine line all the edges, and so has the one in the middle. So think about ways that you can just splash the paint on, which we're going to do in a minute, and then that's a student's sketchbook there. So expressive floral mark making. They are very arty. I think that's the last slide. Oops, sorry. But they look good in a sketchbook. And yes, you can draw. This is just one way of doing it. So don't look at these and think, oh my goodness, I couldn't do that, or that's not for me, that's not for my classroom. How are we feeling so far? You with me? Yeah? Okay. So we're going to swap over now to the other camera. And scarily, I'm going to try and show you something. Right, let's see if it works. Can you see that? I'm not sure what you're seeing because I got it on the wrong. Can you? Oh yes, there we go. Okay, that took a while. So I'm going to show you. Going to move over here. I can't see my screen, so let me turn my screen around. I can see what I'm looking at. Okay. Whoops. Press too hard. Okay. So this is some of my dried florals here. These are some here. So what I do is when I find a really good one, I dry loads of them. So I've got a whole packet here of all of these that I can give one in between two in the class. These ones are quite nice. These dried quite well too, but they're a bit smaller, quite hard to see. So all of these ones here are great. Yeah, I just keep them in a box. The one thing that I do, I don't necessarily do it with the older kids, but I do it with the younger kids, is always to have these on a white piece of paper. They can actually see it better on a white piece of paper. I don't know what your colour your tables are and things like that. As soon as you put it there, it's not so hard to see. So I always think if they're going to have it on their paper or they're going to have it on a piece of white paper next to them. Okay, so that's just a little tip. It's not anything major, but it's just a little tip. So I am scarily going to do this with a pen, and the reason I'm doing it with a pen is because you're not going to be able to see if I do it with a pencil, because you can't really see the pencil in this camera. So I'm using a pen, which I wouldn't necessarily normally do. So my big thing for them is that they must look. They must actually physically look at what they're drawing. I don't mind if they change it slightly. That's a designer's prerogative, yeah. But they must, as they're doing it the first time, they must physically look. So what I get them to do is I get them to look at where the middle is. So we're looking at this bit here. You can see that. Gosh, it's very small, isn't it? That's the middle. And then what I get them to do is I get them to dot the edges of where, and this would be pencil, so it could be rubbed out, just the edges of where they think the petals are ending. So we've got two down here and one there. So I've got some dots around my page, which is really hard for you to see, but they are around my page there. Can you see those? And what I say to them is, depending on the age group, if I'm doing this with year 7, which I do, they've probably only got an A4 paper. And what I say to them is I want them to fill the A4 paper. So I get them to find the middle of the flower, and then I say to them, please, can you put dots right to the edges where you think they will be towards the edge of your paper? They're always going to zoom in a bit. They're never going to go to the edge, but you're trying to get them to fill the page if they can, because what you're going to do, you're going to need a larger area for. So then I get them to, once they've done that, there are lots of different things you can do. Just like art does, you can do timing. You can get them to do some small ones first. It doesn't matter how many times they draw. There's more times they draw the same flower, the better it's going to be. So try and do some timed exercises if you want. You've got 1 minute to draw one petal. You might then give them 2 minutes to draw the next one. It's up to you how you do it. There's lots and lots of different ways. I'm not going to go through them all with you. But what you're going to do is get them to look at it, and they're going to draw each of the petals. And they're going to look at those petals. They're not going to do huge, complicated drawings of them. There's a big line that goes through that one that comes down there. They're just going to do, but I want them to look at the outside shape. I want them to really focus on all the crinkly bits around the outside. Then they're going to draw the next one. That one's lost in the middle, so I'm going to draw the next one. I'm doing this probably much quicker than they would. If you're joining in, that's fab. If you're joining in, you're probably using a pencil. There's a big gap there where this one comes down here. You're not seeing it as well as I am, because obviously I've got that comes in like that. Then we've got the stem. Then we've got this one that curls around. It comes down to that point. It comes back in here. That one's not a very nice shape, but it goes wiggly, wiggly like that. Can you see that? not quite sure how long that took me, but probably a minute in total. Obviously, you know, I've had a lot of experience. They're not going to do it that quickly, but it might be that you might want to say, okay, you've got a minute. And what I don't let them do is rub out. Okay, no rubbers in the room. They can sharpen their pencils. I do like a nice sharp pencil, but I don't like a rubber. So if they were doing it with a pencil and they were doing this wiggly line here, and it's totally the wrong shape, they can go over that and they can do another wiggly line here. I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind second lines. I don't mind third lines. I'm happy for them to have those. They're probably not going to show anyway, and we're just practicing. And then sometimes I say to them, okay, and I want you to relook, and I want you to think about some of the other big shading areas. So some of the big shading areas are here and here. What do you think? There's a big one down here. So what can you add to your drawing? This one's a big one going over there. I'd love a cup of tea, please. Cup of tea. Have you asked for your cup of tea, all of you? Another one, that one comes over here. That's got a shady bit that comes around here. There we go. That, just make sure we get that wiggly line. And there's another shady bit that comes down there. So you're building up on it a little bit more. If you want to at this stage, they can use a black glue, whatever you want, fine liner. I actually quite like the ones that water soluble, because actually it's quite nice just to do a black fine liner and get some water and just have a watered edge to it. Yeah, so you've got just a linear drawing. That's quite nice. Or if you do a fine liner that's permanent, that's also good because you've got the lines behind. What are we going to do now? Now we're going to get splishy splashy. So let me move some of these out of the way. I'm taking my squirter and I'm just very gently going to squirt some water within those petals there. You can't really, or you probably can see that a little bit. Just within those. Just a little bit, not too much. You can always add, but you can't take, well, you can take away, you can just blot it with a. And then I'm going to take some powder dyes. There's lots of different ways to do this. You can do it with inks. You can put the inks on first and then put the water afterwards, or you can do water and then put some inks on, or you can be water, powder dyes. I'm going to put some powder dyes over the top. I'm doing bright colours so that you can see them. Don't need mountains. I'm going to do a couple of colours. I'm going to put a bit of a yellow in there. Obviously, you're going to need somewhere for this to dry. Oh, my yellow's got too big a hole. And then maybe a bit of orange. I wouldn't recommend desperately doing this with the young ones, because they might have dye everywhere. The fun bit, the straw. You don't have to blow if you don't want to. You could get a paintbrush. Right, and I'm going to get a paintbrush. I'm going to merge some of them in a little bit. That will take a while to dry. Okay, it will take a while to dry. And you can then go over with a fine liner, or you can go over with some coloured fine liners, or some of you might have some of these, which I've discovered, which is paint markers, which I've kind of got fun now. I've only got black, but you can get paint markers, which I think are quite fun. That didn't take very long. It's really quick. So they can do that in a lesson, yeah? And if you then go back to those, I'm going to put that on the floor because I'm going to show you some other things. And obviously it's going to move all over the place, which is fine. I'm going to put it over there. So that's one that I did earlier, which I put some black in. And I did start doing, if you can see here, lots of fine lines. And the fine lines can go around all the little splodgy bits, splodgy being another technical term. Let me show you some other things that I've done as well. So they will have some of their artists like this, it just helps. It really, really does help when you look at that and you think it's hard to see there, but there are florals within here. Yeah, it makes them feel more confident if they see that and then they do their drawing. And these are some of the other ones that have been done by students, just to show you a few. These are just photocopies. So when it's dry, you can take a photograph of your mark making, or you can scan your mark making. You can then put your mark making, if you've got sublimation printer, you can print it, or you can put it into 2D design, or you can actually do some CAD work with it. There's lots of things you can do with these. This is one that I did day 4 yesterday. Same thing, but I used transfer paint and transfer dyes. So this one I used transfer dyes. So I put some water on and I put transfer powder dyes, and then I printed it directly onto fabric. So that's on fabric. Can't see how bright it is there. My camera's not great. But I printed that straight onto fabric. So that is transfer powder dyes, which is very, very easy to do. So you've got your mark making because you've got that anyway, and then you've printed it onto fabric. So you've taken it one step further on. This one is just with black that a student did. This is a student's one, but that is literally using transfer paints. So she painted onto paper with transferred paints with a lot of water. So all your smudgy bits and all your backgrounds will be if you put a stronger colour on, and then you smudge the water in with transfer paints. I think that was it printed a couple of times, and then that's it onto fabric. So when you've got it like that, then you can add colour however you want to add it. And there's a million different ways to add colour. Some of the nice things I think you can do with these afterwards, you might add some textured paint. I do like acrylics. I like quite nice, really thick acrylics. So taking some really thick acrylics and having some texture over the top. So very, very thick acrylics to add some texture. And then maybe making them, when you put it into the sketchbooks, they've got to somehow patchwork them up into their sketchbooks. There are a million different ways on the course, which I will show you. This one over here, I've just started to patchwork with some marbling and bits. So this one I actually embroidered over afterwards. So I did some machine embroidery and then I cut it up. So it was on a bigger piece of paper. I did all the mark making the same way that we've done it. Then instead of using a marker pen, I use the machine to embroider it. Then I've got some grounds, and what I would probably do with that is embroider it into the grounds and actually add some more over here, just like this one. So you would embroider outside of your image. Does that make sense? So you're not just using, so that's a bit on fabric, you're not just using that, you're actually embroidering outside of that. That's all very quick. The idea was that it was supposed to be a quick demo of how you could do some great, let's put that one flat on the table there again. I might put that on the floor. Some very quick mark making, floral mark making. Did anybody do any themselves? If you did, you probably can't show us because, like me, it's probably, there's my tea, sorry, my husband's made me a cup of tea. You probably can't show it. Right, I'm coming back here. Yeah, there I am. We'd love it if you could send us some images wouldn't we, Dawn? Then we could put them on Facebook, or we could put them on Instagram if you've done some tonight. That would be truly amazing. Or if you want to go off and do a truly amazing one, you can give us that too. You don't have to give it to us like tonight if you're not feeling quite so confident. What I want to do is just share. No, it's not coming.
Couple of
Where are
questions.
they? Oh,
What-
right, yeah, go for it.
What dyes are you using?
Okay, so I only because sorry, let me come back to you. Only because I've got them, I used Brusho, but that's just because that's what I've got. Sorry, let me get rid of my screen. But any
Poke a hole
powder
in the
dye.
top, don't you? You poke a hole in the top. So
Yeah,
that
this is gosh, every time I tell people they go, oh my goodness, what a great idea. It does actually say it on the packet. I just put a skewer through the top so that the students don't have to when they're flicking it, they don't have to take so much out. But I've just used Brusho, but any powder dye would do. Any powder dye. I do that with inks, with powder dye, with the Dryad transfer dyes and the transfer paints. The one that I showed you on fabric was done the same way, but with the transfer dyes, because they're powders, before you mix them up into dyes. You can actually print your bases and then do these things on top. There's lots and lots of different ways of doing it. The idea is to produce an expressive floral that your student would be happy with and that you're happy with putting in a sketchbook. And I am not against drawing with a pencil. Don't get me wrong, I am definitely not against drawing with a pencil by any stretch of imagination, but I think it is nice to do some alternatives.
so both Lucy and Sarah's put one on the chat, and Lucy just showed us one of her efforts. Show us again, Lucy.
Hold on, I've got to come back.
Sorry, I'm kind of improvising with a little voice melting, bit of water. I'm not doing any paint or any brush over or anything like that. So I've been literally experimenting, and then I've got a dried rose.
That's lovely. I love a dried rose.
And, loads of random petals. So excuse the
beautiful. Fabulous. Fabulous. I love the way with a dried rose you get all those bits at the bottom. I love all those. Do you know one of the nicest things the stems of tomatoes where they take them off and you've got a whole stem and you've got all those nice spiky bits. I quite like them too.
So lovely Sarah's as well. Sarah's done a lovely one that she put in the chat.
Lovely. I'll have a look in a minute. Is there any other questions? I will take you through the course a little bit. Oh, beautiful. Well done, Sarah. That's lovely. Beautiful, beautiful. So just to show you, if I show you the course, so you've got an idea of what the course, apart from the planner, the health and safety, the equipment, me, and the terms and conditions. So you've got this introduction bit, which is taken from the PAP course, where it talks about art drawing within the specification. So what you can get away with, all the different techniques and all the different things that you can use. And then there's a lesson in there too. That introduction is basically what I said tonight. And then you've got structures. So you've got mark making with structures, mark making in 3D. I'm not going to spoil all these, but there's, you can mark make in 3D. We're not just talking about what I've done tonight. Then the structures sketchbook, and then how you can make them into CADs, basically, using the if you want to have it, the other short course. So we've got structures, then we've got an objects theme. So adding further texture to your objects, an object sketchbook. Then we've got aquatic. So on there you've got creating aquatic primary before we actually, how to create the primary before we actually do the mark making. Then you've got marbling, you've got acrylics, and you've got inks. Then you've got floral theme, where I go through like a million different ways. So you've got remember that all of them come with sketchbooks, drawing with your sewing machine, jelly printing, press printing, mark making, using pencils. And then you've got decay again, which screen and jelly, paper folding, acrylics, marbling, tissue paper, and again, sketchbook. So within all of those, there is, if we go into the aquatic theme, there is a lot in there. You've got the equipment, got introduction, and each one of them has a video about everyone. Then you've also got artists and how to do some primary, marbling, mark making with acrylics. So we're talking about, you know, lots of different mediums. I've got foam there. So mark making with shaving foam, lots of different ways of doing mark making. And then with inks, for example, I think I do it with inks and using bubbles, and I actually do that with transfer paint as well, so that you can actually print from it. So there's a lot on the course, and it does take you through where necessary. Come back to me. Where necessary, I do have artists that help mark making. So not just artists for techniques or artists that they need to research. It's always good to have some artists that look like they are doing mark making or drawing. I am quick, aren't I? That was it. Any questions about any of the online courses? You want them explained? Anything? I haven't been through the chat. Has there been anything else in the chat?
No, there's no other questions. Gabriella's actually done put one of her efforts on, which is lovely.
Hi. Can I just ask?
Yes, ask. You've gone.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes, go. Who's asking?
Sarah Holmes is asking, are the courses mainly for teachers or suitable for students too?
I'm just checking here.
I try and make them so that I'm not like talking to a teacher. I'm talking to anybody that's listening wants to know how to do them. So what I always say is that if you're, depending who's paying for the course, I suppose, if you're paying for it as a teacher or the school's paying for it, you can show the students. There is nothing on there that you wouldn't be able to show a student. Unless if the students want to buy them, then that's absolutely fine. If you think your students want to buy, they've got enough money to pay for or their parents to pay for a course, then yeah, why not? Why not? Definitely could pay for a course. But I have a lot of teachers say to me, hope you don't mind, but I showed your video to the class. And I said, no, it's fine. That makes life a little bit easier for you. So yeah, absolutely.
So Lindsay is asking, she's had different advice. Should a photo of the thing they are drawing go alongside the drawings, and how do they annotate these?
Yes, definitely. Yes. So you can't always have, well, you can have some dried leaves, but with all the other mark making, you're not gonna go out necessarily and draw pylons outside, are you? So you're going to have the photographs. Sorry, I need a sip of tea. So yes, in your sketchbook, you will have a page where you will have the original photograph. You might have different versions of that photograph. Then you'll have mark making of that photograph, and then you'll have some development from that photograph. So definitely have annotation. I'm not going to go to tonight, but I can talk to you about that as a mentor if you want to. But everything and anything can be annotated. You do not need to cover your page with annotation, but anything and everything can be annotated. You might not want to annotate every drawing. You might just want to annotate a couple that you're happy with. The reason you might annotate the drawings is to explain how they originated, where you're going to take them to, and where they came from. Yeah, you're not just going to say, well, I got some inks and threw them on the page. You might talk about where they're taking you to within the project. So the course will be £50.
It's usually 75.
Yeah. How long are the videos? Oh, you are asking me not complicated questions, very easy question, but I've no idea. Some are 3 minutes, some are 5 minutes, some are 10 minutes. They're not normally longer than 10 minutes. If it's 10 minutes, it's because I've taken something and done something else with it and done something else with it and done something else with it and added them all together. So I might have done something like mono printed, I might have collaged it, then I might have embroidered it. So I'm just taking you, or then I might show you something at the end, which might be a sketchbook or something. But I try not to make them too long because if you're going to show them to the class, I know you want to show them quickly. So you might want to show them at the beginning of the class. But you can crop them, not crop them, but you can just show the bit. If you look at them beforehand, you can just show that clip that you want to show to the class. Yeah. There's nothing bad on them. There's nothing, I don't take the mickey out of the children or anything awful like that. There's nothing you can't show. So Dawn, could you put a link to the course for me?
I did do that
So it's
earlier.
on
I'm going to do it again.
It's on the Textile Skills Centre. Don't forget the code. Have a look at all the courses. So there's a teacher hub, and there is another place where all the other courses in, but all the courses are in the teachers hub. And yeah, have a read through what they are. And if you're thinking of buying one but you don't want to buy it because you want to know a little bit more about what's in it, just email me and I can send you some images or something like that to show you what more is in them. No, none of the courses have an expiry date. We've got people on there forever. I know that sounds a bit vague, but it's because people dip in and out constantly and they feel they can't do it. Your teachers, I'm teaching all this week in primary, believe it or not. But I do know how hard it is to do everything at once. And Dawn, we look at them and think, oh, they've only gone halfway through, but they've dipped in, they've dipped out, they've dipped in, they've dipped out. Some of them are quite long. The creative pattern and garment one is a long course because you're making, I'm teaching you how to make blocks and toiles for 7 garments, then I'm showing you how to adapt them, then I'm showing you how to do fashion illustration, then I'm showing you the garment. I mean, it's a long course. Not all of them that long.
Somebody's asking, are we doing any workshops in London? And I am trying to negotiate one at the moment, so look out for that. It's really hard. We tried doing them in London before and nobody's turned up. So
No.
it's one of those hard ones to recruit.
Yeah.
And we're going to try again.
Unfortunately, you do have to go. We try to make sure that it's not more than like an hour or that they're quite easy to get to when we do them. But yeah, you just have to keep looking at them around the country. I do recommend the one in Banbury. It's not actually that far from South Wales. Is Banbury that far from South Wales going across?
But we do them in Bristol, which is about as close to South Wales as we get, actually. So we do in Bristol and in Cheltenham. We go to Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Isn't so
We've
far.
got another one coming up in Cheltenham, I feel. The Midlands were always there.
We're in Coventry, we're in Derby, we go across to Nottingham. We're always in the Midlands.
Yeah. The Midlands is like, Claire, we're there a lot. Might not be with the things at the moment, but we're normally always, I'm sure we've got a couple in the Midlands.
We've definitely got one in Coventry coming up. In Derby.
So when people do one, I have to say, when people do one face-to-face course, they normally do all 4.
Yeah,
so I normally do get to meet people. Do put some, if you've been on one, put it in the chat and say, which one that you preferred.
They're great networking events as well, and we do them in schools. See what other teachers are doing in their schools, so which is brilliant. They're really good things to do. Next year as well, talking about the Midlands, next year this big D&T meet is going to be at De Montfort University, I'm hoping, and they're going to be focusing on textiles, and it's going to be a big textiles event. So look out for that. That's this time, July next year.
Wow. Perfect. So yeah, there is I did your surface. Oh, you did one in London. So there's basically surfaces, heat press, garments, fabric manipulation. Is that it? There's another one.
Can't remember, but there's also essential manufacturing, and there's
thank you, Lena. Lena's a fan. Yeah. So it does cover, I mean, honestly, on all the courses, it does really cover most everything that you might need. I don't think there's a lot that we don't cover. on the courses that we do. That's it
Right.
really, ladies. I know I'm pretty quick, I always am, but
Thank you ever so much, Nikki, and thank you everybody for coming, and have a great end of year. If we don't see you at one of the couple of events that are coming up, have a fantastic rest of year, and look out for my newsletters. We are also creating a new website, which is very, very exciting. And we've got lots of projects we're working on for next year. So please do support us. As you know, we do all of this for free.
for free.
We're
Yeah, so if you
volunteers,
want to
so-
buy us a coffee, go back and buy us a coffee or whatever it is. Not that I drink coffee,
I
but you know
know
what I mean.
some of you have already donated, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's amazing. Thank you. And have a look at the discount, and then you can always look at this back if you want to. And well done those that did actually do something. Please send them to me and I'll put them on Instagram for you. Scary, isn't it? I'd love to put them on Instagram for you. That would be amazing. I'll make them look amazing. Don't worry. Not that they are, but I'll put them on Instagram. So please send them to me. Nikki at Textile Skills Centre. And don't forget to go onto Instagram and log in, and especially go onto the website to put your name and your email address to get the newsletters.
Oh, somebody's actually said the Big
Ah.
D&T meet is at Baysgar School. Thank you, which is south side of the Humber Bridge. I knew it wasn't in Hull. It's sort of the other side of the river, or the estuary.
Yes, Rachel, it's all recorded. Thanks, ladies. That is amazing.
Thank you. So there's another nice one.
Please send me your images. I'll take a photo of mine if you send me all of yours. Okay. I'll put them on Instagram and Facebook.